Constable Wynne and Auxiliary Constable Derek Bond had been shot 9 days earlier in the line of duty and are both to be saluted for their bravery. 2,100 first responders from across North America honored their fallen colleague, and thousands of St. Albertans lined the procession route wearing white ribbons and waving Canadian flags in a show of community respect and solidarity. The entire city of St. Albert has come together to show support for both the Wynne and the RCMP families. 15,000 white ribbons adorn porch lights, lampposts, and trees throughout our city. To the family of Constable Wynne, wife Shelley, sons Matthew, Nathan, and Alex, and also to Auxiliary Constable Bond, who is recovering from serious injuries, please know that you are in our collective thoughts and in our prayers. A grateful nation salutes you for your sacrifice and thanks you for your service to your community and to your country. May you rest in peace, Constable Wynne.
The Honourable Member for Souris, Moose Mountain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The fundraising effort that started in 2011 to raise $8 million for a new regional nursing home in Estevan, Saskatchewan reached its goal 2 years ahead of schedule. On January 12, 2015, campaign chair of the Heartstone Community Campaign, Vern Buck, made the announcement that a new nursing home in Estevan was no longer a matter of if, but when, as the required $8 million had been raised prior to Christmas 2014. There were numerous acts of generosity that raised the funds, such as cutting grass, quilt sales, the car auction, and the harvesting of 3/4 sections of canola. Campaign Chair Vern Buck stated, "The generous people of Estevan and the surrounding area have made themselves to congratulate for reaching the fundraising goal so quickly. It reflects the urgency of our need for a new facility. To all of the volunteers and members of the community who donated time and money for this project, and to Campaign Chair Vern Buck, congratulations on the job well done, on the outstanding effort of reaching the goal in such a quick fashion." Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Louis-Hébert. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to invite you and all Canadians to the 61st edition of the Carnaval de Québec, which will take place from the 30th of January to the 15th of February under the chairmanship of Ms. Isabelle Urtevant. Last year, Quebec welcomed 520,000 visitors. This year, 200 activities are on the agenda, supported by 1,200 volunteers. Come to the party with your arrowhead sash, your event pass, or your trumpet. Come and see the nighttime parades, the ice palace, the snow sculptures, the canoe races, and don't miss out on the dog sled rides, the Pee Wee hockey tournament, or Hockey Canada's Century Tour, and the streets where the events unfold, from Campanile to Maguire. And finally, I would like to wish good luck to the Duchess of Sainte-Foy, Sylvie Cap-Rouge, Marie-André Boucher, during her crowning. So come to the biggest winter carnival in the world with its king, Bonhomme. So happy carnival to everyone.
Honourable Member for South Surrey, White Rock, Cloverdale.
Mr. Speaker, as we know, North Korea has one of the most brutal regimes on the planet, denying its own people the most basic rights and freedoms. Indeed, those who would dare question the totalitarian regime of Kim Jong-un, or even try to escape from it, are sent to concentration camps, many to die of torture or starvation. Amnesty International estimates there are 200,000 political prisoners in these camps. This week, the Parliament of Canada will hear testimony from a high-profile defector, Jang Jin-sung, who has documented many of the evils of the North Korean regime in his recent book, Dear Leader. However, Kim Jong-un is not content to oppress just his own people. His regime also threatens us with nuclear weapons and attacks our right to free speech, as the recent Sony hack demonstrated. Mr. Speaker, Canada will not be intimidated. We will continue to criticize the cruelty of Kim Jong-un and call for an end to his regime.
The Honourable Member for Malpeque.
Today I pay tribute to the late Don Heron, an unforgettable Canadian actor, comedian, cartoonist and writer. He entertained generations of Canadians with his contagious passion and light heart. Notably, he performed as his comic alter ego Charlie Ferguson, a folksy storyteller poking fun at almost anything Canadian, often making politicians the target. He showed us the joy of laughing at ourselves. As Charlie, he performed on Canadian radio, TV, and a variety of shows like Hee Haw in the United States. His serious side had him hosting CBC's Morningside, and in theatre acting on stages from London, England to Stratford, Ontario. His most celebrated work was helping to bring the island classic Anne of Green Gables alive to the stage, having been performed for 50 consecutive years at the Charlottetown Festival. As Charlie would say in his tattered sweater, hee-haw, on to the next chapter. On behalf of the House, we thank you, Don, for your wit, your passion, and your love for this country.
Honourable member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, Canada lost one of its truest supporters of arts and culture yesterday with the passing of Joe Rotman. A passionate supporter of the arts, he believed that it is our arts and our culture that define our identity as a country. Rotman served as the chair of the board of the Art Gallery of Ontario and as a member of the board of the Governor-General's Performing Arts Awards. In 2008, Rotman was appointed chair of the Canada Council for the Arts, where he served with distinction until his death. As a major benefactor of the arts, he donated nearly $100 million to building a more vibrant arts sector. Throughout his life, Joe was guided by the belief instilled in him by his father that the most powerful way to inspire others is for them to see people giving back to their community. Mr. Speaker, Joe Rotman inspired us all with his generosity. He will be missed.
The honourable member for Thunder Bay, Rainy River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we mourn the loss of Sergeant Jesse Tate of Sudbury. He was a father, husband, son, and soldier serving at CFB Shiloh in Manitoba. All of Northern Ontario and all Canadians stand with his family at this time of loss. He joined the Canadian Forces in January 2002 and was posted to the Princess Patricia's Canadian Light Infantry. He served in Bosnia in 2003 and in Afghanistan in 2008 as a sniper. His family describes him as ambitious, hardworking, a natural leader with a penchant for adventure, who loved nothing more than spending time with his two young boys. This tragic death serves as another reminder of the commitment and service of our Canadian forces. It also reminds us of the duty we have as members in the House of Commons to those who serve, to only place them in harm's way after careful consideration, and to be there for them when they return. We shall not forget Sergeant Jesse Tate.
The honourable member for Barrie.
Mr. Speaker, today I would like to pay tribute to a very dear friend who unfortunately lost his battle with ALS at age 70. Mr. Derek Walton was diagnosed with ALS in 2002 and has been a passionate advocate for neurological research and ALS ever since. Although the average life expectancy for those who are diagnosed with ALS is 2 to 5 years, Derek quickly earned the nickname Braveheart for his continuous fight. He used his tremendous strength and courage to fight a terrible battle that too many Canadians are currently facing. Derek's many efforts to raise money for ALS research, including launching the Walton Cure for ALS Fund at Sunnybrook Hospital, his annual skydiving events he called Jumping for Pals, organizing annual ALS walks, and helping spearhead the National Neurological Charity funding for the Canada Brain Research Fund, his hard work helped raise hundreds of thousands of dollars for ALS research. My thoughts and prayers are with Derek's family during this difficult time. His dedication to raising awareness and funds for ALS will forever be remembered.
Hear, hear. The honourable member for St. Catharines.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today to speak about the stigma surrounding mental health and recent efforts to address it by Bell Canada and our government. Today marks the 5th annual Bell Let's Talk Day. For every text, call, tweet, and Facebook share of the campaign, Bell is donating 5 cents to a variety of Canadian mental health charities. In just 4 years, Bell has donated over $67 million. This is a significant achievement which will affect positive change. Mr. Speaker, Bell is not alone in its support of mental health initiatives. Our government has taken action and created the Mental Health Commission and a national strategy for mental health and well-being. We've invested significantly and seriously into mental health and neuroscience research in the past 8 years, supporting organizations like Canada Brain Research Fund in their projects, an additional $6 million for research into eating disorders since 2006. Down in Niagara, Mr. Speaker, Regional Chairman Al Caslin has assured me the regional government is also committed to delivering with us. Our government is focused on supporting initiatives that benefit the health of all Canadians, physically and mentally. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Quebec. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank the members who work for the cooperatives for housing in Quebec. They have helped 27,000 households to find affordable housing. It's a modern and effective organization and very humane. Unfortunately, for a few years now, the Conservative government refuses to reinvest in affordable housing, and the number of houses affected or households will be 100,000. The 85% of the budget will have been cut, and the NDP recognizes the right to affordable housing at an affordable cost. It's a right, and that's why we're asking the government to keep the $1.7 million budget in place. It's time to put together a housing strategy, and I will be present at the Quebec Cooperatives meeting this Saturday. Welcome, one and all.
Member for Fleetwood Fort Cowles.
Mr. Speaker, recent events have clearly demonstrated that the international jihadist movement has declared war on Canada and her allies. This week in BC, the trial of accused terrorists John Nuttall and Amanda Crowley will begin. Together, they are accused of plotting to attack the BC legislature's Canada Day celebrations. Our government believes these threats against Canadians are reprehensible. That's why we have taken concrete measures to end this threat. It's why we have committed the Canadian Armed Forces to the broad international coalition against the so-called Islamic State. No Canadian government should ever stand on the sidelines while our allies act to deny terrorists a safe haven. There's work to be done at home as well. We will put legislation before Parliament this Friday. We will help authorities stop planned attacks, get threats off our streets, criminalize the promotion of terrorism, and prevent terrorists from traveling and recruiting others. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Argenteuil-Papineau-Mirabel.
Months ahead, many important issues will be brought before this House. Canadians are concerned about the falling price of oil and what that means for our economy. They're troubled by climate change and the environment, falling income, rising debt. They're worried about health care and their pensions, the loss of manufacturing jobs, and that there's no federal minimum wage. En même temps, Monsieur le Président.
At the same time, Mr. Speaker, we can't forget that we have to involve women in all of our politics, include as the critic for the status of women for the NDP, I commit to working very hard towards equality for all Canadians. We have to put an end to poverty for women, and we need a plan for affordable daycare, universal daycare. We need to have a national action plan to put an end to violence against women. The NDP knows that when we forget about women, all of Canada and its economy suffer. So you can count on the NDP to stand up for women now and...
Honourable Member for Mississauga-Streetsville.
Mr. Speaker, our government understands that manufacturing is a high-tech, high-skill economic engine for Canada. Manufacturing alone employs close to 1.7 million Canadians, including many in my riding of Mississauga-Streetsville. However, the Liberal leader told Ontarians last week he wants to transition away from a manufacturing economy altogether. Shameful. Well, since coming to power, our government has made Canada a low-tax environment for Canadian manufacturers, eliminated tariffs on machinery, and negotiated trade agreements that will expand markets and create jobs. Jason Myers, president of the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, said the programs the Conservative government has put in place support manufacturing and do it very well. Hear, hear. Mr. Speaker, the choice is clear. Our government is focused on establishing the right conditions for success, low taxes, global trade opportunities, investment policies, and a skilled workforce.
Here. The Honourable Member for Vancouver Centre.
Mr. Speaker, 1 in 5 Canadians will experience a mental illness in their lifetime. Currently, 3 million Canadians suffer from depression. Suicides account for 24% of deaths in 15 to 24-year-olds, and the suicide rate is climbing amongst men who are 85 and over. In 2011, all parties in this House voted to support a Liberal motion for a national suicide prevention strategy. And in 2013, the Mental Health Commission of Canada made recommendations for mental health policies in the workplace. The government has failed to implement any of those policies. Last week, the Mental Health Commission gave Canada a failing grade on 12 out of 13 indicators for mental health outcomes. Suicide rates are still above G8 average, self-harm among students is growing, and workplace stress and anxiety is rising. Stigma still prevents many from seeking help. I encourage all members to support Bell Let's Talk campaign today. Each tweet will get a 5-cent donation from Bell. And I urge...
The honourable member for Oxford.
Mr. Speaker, under the strong leadership of our Prime Minister, our government is on track to balance Canada's budget, and we are now in a position to help Canadian families balance theirs. Our plan gives new money to 100% of families with children, and the vast majority of benefits go to low and middle-income families. With the enhancement of the universal child care benefit, mums and dads in Oxford and across the country will receive nearly $2,000 per year for every child under 6 and $720 per year for every child between the ages of 6 and 17. But the NDP and Liberals want to take this money away and spend it on big government bureaucracy instead. Instead of giving decision-making powers to parents, the NDP and the Liberals want Ottawa bureaucracy telling families what to do. And that's not right, Mr. Speaker. Our government knows that parents know what's best for their kids, and we're proud to be the only party standing up for them.
Hear, hear. The honourable member for Davenport.
Well, it's an unfortunate reality that Canadians are now used to, the Conservatives making policy decisions solely based on political self-interest. But most Canadians would be saddened and, well, surprised to see the Liberals take the same tack. Just yesterday, Liberal MPs and officials talked about their approach to the impending Conservative anti-terror legislation. They don't want to be, quote, outflanked by the Conservatives. So they'll support the government's new anti-terrorism bill without even reading it first. Now, why would the Liberals give the Conservatives such a free ride? Canadians want sound, evidence-based policy, not policies based on political expediency. But you know, Mr. Speaker, Liberals remind me of the old saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll go for anything. Thank you.
Honourable member for Winnipeg South Central.
The government is delivering an unprecedented package for benefits for hard-working families through our new tax breaks and the family tax cut plan. The vast majority of these benefits will be to low and middle-income families. Together, these initiatives will directly benefit 100% of the families with children in my riding of Winnipeg South Centre. We are increasing and expanding the universal child care benefit for children under 6. We have increased the child care expense deduction. We have doubled the children's fitness tax credit. And we have expanded the universal child care benefit for children aged 6 to 17. We are proud of our plan, Mr. Speaker, that is lowering taxes and providing benefits directly to families for them to reinvest in the Canadian economy. The last thing we should do is put our economy at risk with the high taxes and debt promised by the Liberals and the NDP. Shame on the Liberals and NDP for wanting to take these cuts away from families.
Oral questions orales. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, today Statistics Canada has pointed out that in 2014, 65,000 fewer jobs were created than anticipated. In Quebec, the number of young people, healthy young people who are seeking employment and who have ended up on social assistance has gone up by 14.4%. That was in 2014 as well. It's scandalous. Since the worst, darkest hours of the recession, these are the worst results. Why is the Prime Minister standing by without taking action? What is he waiting for to bring down a budget? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's the contrary, in fact. The methods and numbers change from time to time. When they come out of Statistics Canada, the trends are clear. We have created, through the economy, 1.2 billion, jobs, and this isn't time to increase taxes for families and businesses, nor is it time to accumulate debt and deficits. It's time to reduce taxes, as we are doing, to cut taxes, and to ensure that we invest in the economy. Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Ce ne sont pas des numéros.
These aren't numbers we're talking about. We're talking about people, human beings.
Canadians are looking for action. They're looking for help for the middle class. Instead, they're getting a Conservative tax proposal that fails middle-class families. A new report out today shows that middle-class families will benefit the least from the Prime Minister's tax plan. They make enough so that their childcare benefits will be taxed back, but not enough to benefit from the Prime Minister's income-splitting scheme because it's only for the richest. When will the Prime Minister put forward a practical plan to help middle-class families? When are we going to see a budget?
Hear, hear. All right, Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, they are human beings. There are 1.2 million more of them working now than households. That's over 8 million adults who will be benefiting from the tax cuts and benefits brought in by this government, and those millions of Canadians will fight tooth and nail every attempt by the NDP to raise the deficit, to raise taxes, and to kill jobs.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
President.
Mr. Speaker, the report confirms that the Canadian forces are now involved in combat, and this despite the formal promises made by the Prime Minister in the fall that they wouldn't be on the front. The U.S. troops, however, are not pinpointing targets on the ground, nor are they authorized to accompany Iraqi troops to the front. The rules of engagement are the same as what the Prime Minister had promised us in the fall. Why did he mislead Canadians? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, it's not true. The truth is that the NDP and the Leader of the Opposition is opposed to all of our positions. He's opposed to the military mission that is in place to advise and assist. Our troops have killed jihadists and terrorists who shot at them. Mr. Speaker, that is their mission. We are very proud of them, and we are 100% behind them. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Speaker, American troops are not allowed to paint targets for airstrikes. They're not allowed to accompany Iraqi forces to the front lines. This is exactly what the Prime Minister promised would be the case for Canadian soldiers, and yet Canadian Special Forces are indeed being put on the front lines. Brigadier General Rouleau said Canadians are going to the, quote, forward-most Iraqi fighting positions. That's why they call it the front, Mr. Speaker. Simple question. When did the Prime Minister decide to send Canadian troops into combat?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
As I've said repeatedly, this is a mission to robust assist and advise Iraqi forces. Mr. Speaker, I know the NDP is against that. I know the opposition thinks it's a terrible thing that we're actually standing up to the jihadists. I know they think it's a terrible thing that some of these jihadists got killed when they fired on the Canadian military. I don't know what other militaries are doing, but I know that ours are doing exactly what this Parliament asked to do, and the Canadians are behind it.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Spending $700,000 a year to fight vets in court, that's not supporting our troops. Closing 9 veteran services offices, that's not supporting our troops either. Today, we learned about the loss of another soldier. Sergeant Jesse Tate from Sudbury had served in Bosnia and Afghanistan. Sergeant Tate was struggling with depression. His mother says that when he went for help, he was turned away. Will the Prime Minister finally commit to supporting our troops not only in combat, but in the battle that comes afterward?
right honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, obviously I don't know the facts of this particular case, but whenever we lose a serving military officer or a former military member, it's a terrible thing, and obviously our condolences go out to that family, Mr. Speaker. But that's why we're taking the steps that we are taking, why we have created 8 operational stress injury clinics. I don't know why the NDP voted against that support for our veterans. Why did they vote against the expansion of the Road to Mental Readiness Education campaign? Why did they oppose the expansion of the Veterans Independence Program, or the Canada Remembers Program, or the Community War Memorial Program, or the Earning Loss Supplement and Retirement Program? We're standing by veterans.
The Honourable Member for Papineau.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservative income splitting plan is most generous to those earning over $233,000 a year. That's the wrong priority. Why does the Prime Minister insist on giving families like his and mine a $2,000 tax break?
The right honourable Prime Minister.
Let's be clear, the vast majority of Canadian families cannot rely on a personal trust fund. The reality is, Mr. Speaker, is they rely on the creation of jobs, which this government has been supporting, and they welcome all Canadian families, every single Canadian family that is benefiting from our tax reductions and benefit. They welcome those changes. They understand that the Liberal Party would take those things away from them, and, Mr. Speaker, they will tell the Liberal Party it's on the wrong path.
Once again, Mr. Speaker, the Conservative income splitting plan is most generous for those earning over $233,000 a year. That's the wrong priority. Why does the Prime Minister insist on giving families like mine and his a $2,000 tax break? The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Ordinary Canadians who work hard don't have a private trust fund to rely on. Mr. Speaker, the reality is that Canadian families know full well, they know that with the action we are taking, all Canadian families will see reduced taxes and benefits. There's a universal tax credit for children, income splitting for seniors. This is something that the Liberal Party wants to withdraw. We are in favour of those things. The Liberal Party is opposed to those, and the Liberal Party of Canada is opposed to Canadian families.
Mr. Speaker, Major Mark Campbell lost both legs in Afghanistan fighting the Taliban. Now he's fighting a government that has spent $700,000 in legal fees to deny him $35,000 in benefits. Will the Prime Minister live up to our sacred obligation, end this court battle, and start giving our veterans the help they deserve?
That's it. The right honourable Prime Minister.
The leader of the Liberal Party knows full well that the government isn't going to comment on matters before the court, other than, Mr. Speaker, simply to observe that in this case the government is defending a decision of the previous government supported by all parties in the House of Commons. Mr. Speaker, since coming to office, since the previous government imposed the new Veterans Charter, this government has enhanced veterans' services and programs to the tune, Mr. Speaker, of some $5 billion, opposed every step of the way by the Liberals and the NDP. We're proud of those actions, and we'll obviously look at what more needs to be done as we continue to support our veterans.
The Honourable Member Rimouski-Nejet-Témiscouata Basque. The shaky economy represents a budgetary challenge for all levels of government, and the least that the government could do is to sit down with the provinces and align our action. The Conservatives have instead decided to go solo by boycotting the Council of the Federation. What's more, they seem to be working on a pan-Canadian drug plan, which isn't a bad thing, but that should, at the very least, be done with the provinces. Why are the Conservatives refusing to consider the provinces as real partners? The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Speaker, as you know, the Prime Minister continuously meets with premiers and members of this government. Of course, ministers meet with their counterparts at the provincial and territorial level all the time, Mr. Speaker. Of course, this government has brought forward a number of different initiatives, including the largest infrastructure program in Canadian history that has reinvested in roads, bridges, the infrastructure of this country, Mr. Speaker, which has seen the Canadian economy continue to grow, will continue to grow in the future, Mr. Speaker. We're very proud of the fact that we've made these investments, that job creation is over 1 million people, Mr. Speaker. That's the record that we have. We'll continue to work with our partners to make sure that our economy goes.
The Honourable Member for Musquina-Témiscouata-les-Basques. Mr. Speaker, for 10 years now, the Council of the Federation has been meeting without the presence of the Prime Minister. The federal government should work more closely with the provinces to deal with the economic and budgetary challenges we're facing, namely with respect to innovation that is undermining our economic development and job creation in Canada. Yesterday, our leader proposed a plan to stimulate job creation in manufacturing and for SMEs. The plan includes an important component for innovation and modernizing corporations. What is the government waiting for to support Canadian manufacturers who are investing in research and development and to create good jobs? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Good question, Mr. Speaker. We're currently working with the provinces of Canada. 2 weeks ago, I was with Brad Newgood, the Ontario Minister, in Detroit to work with the automobile manufacturers to ensure that we have job gains in Ontario. Last week, I was with Jacques Houd in Quebec. We worked together on a internal free trade arrangement, and that will create jobs. Working with the Brad Newgood, with Mr. Daou, we work with each province on all levels to ensure that we're creating jobs for all Canadians. The Honourable Member for Saint-Lambert. The Conservatives' lamentable management and inability to diversify the economy has led to thousands of jobs lost. We've seen now Target, Sony, Mex, Suncor, Ariane Phosphate in Chicoutimi, Bombardier in Thunder Bay, and La Pocatière, Epica in Quebec City, and Tim Hortons now, which has announced layoffs, including 50 in Lachine. What is the government waiting for to show some leadership and to put in place measures to breathe new life into our companies, small businesses that create jobs? The Honourable Minister. We gave a breath of new life for companies by cutting their taxes, Mr. Speaker, and that's one of the reasons why we've seen approximately 1.2 million new jobs created since the recession, since the global recession. We'll continue to reduce the tax burden for small businesses, which are major drivers of job creation. We also have benefits with respect to employment insurance. We're making important investments to help entrepreneurs on training, for example. We will continue to focus on job creation. The Honourable Member. We can't stand by and not take action as jobs are being lost. In the NDP, we're working to ensure that families have more jobs. A year ago, I called upon the Minister of Employment and asked him, in fact, if he had a plan to save jobs in Charlevoix. No action, just contempt. Now, in a few days, Résolu in Clermont, a forestry product company, will be closing its doors. What is the minister doing? What plan does the minister have to stimulate job creation in the manufacturing sector? The Honourable Minister of Industry. Mr. Speaker, we have several policies, investments and approaches to stimulate the economy and create jobs in the manufacturing sector.
Need some good news in that regard. It was just 2 weeks ago that we announced a partnership with Linamar to create over 1,000 jobs in Guelph, Ontario. We've also worked with Chrysler to make investments in Windsor. We're working with Oakville. We're working with Ford in order to ensure that we have investments in over 1,200 new jobs being created in the Oakville area, Mr. Speaker. We have investments that are happening all across the country in the aerospace sector in the province of Quebec, creating thousands of good-paying jobs all across this country. Our policies are indeed working, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Rivière-des-Milieux. Support for the manufacturing sector also involves government procurement. The Conservative government is completely lacking leadership when it comes to protecting local jobs. Recently, we learned that certain cities are planning to use their gas tax transfer to buy buses in Belgium. as workers in Nova Bus in Saint-Eustache. That makes no sense. What is the government doing to promote buying local and to protect our manufacturing jobs and, by the same token, creating jobs? The Honourable Minister. There's a specific policy on buses, and I will speak to her after to address the issue. But, Mr. Speaker, when we talk about manufacturing across Canada, we have good policies. That's what Jason Myers has said, the head of the Manufacturers and Export Association of Canada. Jobs are being created, and we will be able to sell our products internationally. Mr. Speaker, we are working on and ensuring that we have in place the policies that we need to ensure the jobs are created across the country.
Well, those so-called good policies have led to major plant closures at Electromotive Diesel, Kellogg's, Heinz, and a proposal to create 1,500 jobs at the former St. Thomas Ford plant is on the ropes. In the past 8 years, under this Prime Minister, the London region has lost a third of its manufacturing jobs. That's thousands of families placed in jeopardy because they're out of work. Mr. Speaker, New Democrats will always stand up for jobs and families across this country. When will the Conservatives finally get on board?
It's unfortunate that the deal in St. Thomas fell through, but it had nothing to do with government policy. It was a business deal that didn't work. But, Mr. Speaker, here are business arrangements that are working because our government has a low-tax approach and is inviting investment into Canada. For example, as I said, Linamar creating 1,200 new jobs in Guelph. Wolf Steel in Barrie is expanding 176 new jobs. Fiera Foods in Toronto, 224 new jobs, $146 million investment. Delta Pharma Services in Toronto creating new jobs because of their new investment. Glitchsoft Corporation in Canada creating new jobs. Patriot Forge in Brantford creating new jobs. Eclipse Automation is expanding, creating new jobs. All across this country, Mr. Speaker, the economy is...
The honourable member for Newton North Delta.
While the Conservatives deny reality and delay, the NDP propose solutions to help families. And the Conservatives like to pat themselves on the back while Canadians lose their jobs. Target's closure alone will put nearly 18,000 people out of work, affecting families in every community across this country. And many won't qualify for benefits under an EI program that's been cut by both the Liberals and Conservatives. Where's the Conservative plan to create and protect Canadian jobs?
The Honourable Minister of
Mr. Speaker, the results are clear. Canada has one of the best job creation records in the developed world, with the creation of some 1.2 million net new jobs since the global downturn. And of course, Mr. Speaker, we of course regret when anyone does lose their job, but the EI system is there for them. In fact, 86% of unemployed who paid into the system access EI, and we're working with the employees at Target to ensure that they get their claims treated in an accelerated fashion. But at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, none of those people would be helped by the NDP policy of higher taxes, reckless spending, and huge deficits, which is a recipe for jobs being killed, not created.
The honourable member for Parkdale High Park.
Well, Mr. Speaker, again, the Conservatives are in denial, but the NDP has a plan to help Canadian families. Conservative low-wage strategies meant not only the loss of 400,000 good manufacturing jobs, but lost opportunities to create thousands of new ones.
Right.
Billions of dollars in new product line investments have just passed us by. The NDP has proposed a concrete plan to attract investment and innovation and create good jobs for Canadians. So when will the Conservatives get on board, stop the decline, and invest in the next generation of good middle-class jobs?
When firms have announced that they're expanding their growth in Canada, like Pratt & Whitney, like Ford, like Chrysler, like Honda just last week, when they announced that they're expanding their footprint in Canada, they point specifically to the fact that this government has lowered taxes and made Canada a good place for businesses to come and grow in Canada. It's true that the NDP have announced policies. They did once back in September. They did again yesterday. And here's what Dan Kelly of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business said. He said it pointedly, but he said about the NDP policies. He said, the NDP leader's plan for the economy is dumb and anti-small business.
The honourable member for Skeena-Vaucluse Valley.
Question after question from the official opposition about when the budget's coming, and we got a finance minister who's riding the bench. 400,000 lost manufacturing jobs. The Conservative response, deny there's even a problem. Anemic job growth in Canada. Conservative response, delay their budget, just hoping things get better on their own. In communities like Thunder Bay, Chicoutimi, London, Toronto, Montreal, Canadians are losing their jobs, and the Conservative response is to dither away the opportunity to act and to help these families. Delay, deny, and dither away their job is not helping Canadians. The NDP leader has put forward progressive, concrete proposals. When are they going to get on board or get out of the way?
The Honourable Minister of Industry.
Mr. Speaker, we believe, of course, in ensuring that the Canadian economy is growing. The unemployment rate in this country has gone from 7.2% down to 6.6% last year to this. Close to 1.2 million net new jobs have been created since the recession. We are partnering and ensuring that we are growing businesses all across this country. And the reality is, Mr. Speaker, that the NDP's approach is anti-small business. It's anti-investment. It hurts Canadian families. And our approach, of course, is going to get results for the Canadian economy. It has so far, with the best jobs numbers since the recession, and we're continuing to go in the right direction, Mr. Speaker, in partnership and working to create prosperity for all Canadians.
Honourable Member for Toronto Centre.
Mr. Speaker, Canada is united in support of democratic Ukraine, but Canada's actions must match our rhetoric. Sergei Chemezov is a close friend of Putin's from their days in the KGB, and he's now the chief of a leading Russian defense company. He's been sanctioned by the U.S. and Europe, but he's not on Canada's list. Igor Sechin, another member of Putin's inner circle sanctioned by the U.S., is still welcome in Canada too. Can the foreign minister explain why these two close Putin comrades are banned by our allies, but not by Canada?
The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
No government in the world has stood up stronger than Canada in our support of the Ukrainian people and Ukraine. Canadians can be very proud of that leadership. I'll give the facts to the member. In terms of sanctions, Mr. Speaker, Canada has implemented 199 separate sanctions, while the United States only 127. There is no government in the Western world who is standing up against Putin and against his war in Ukraine than this government and this Prime Minister.
The Honourable Member for Kings Hands.
Mr. Speaker, with plummeting oil prices and stagnant growth, Canadians deserve leadership and certainty. Instead, they have a finance minister who dithers and delays the budget. Yesterday, the Parliamentary Budget Office warned, quote, "There is uncertainty right now. Not having a budget may actually add to that uncertainty," unquote. Will the government take the PBO's advice and table a budget in February to provide economic certainty to Canadians during this difficult time?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Proud of what our government has achieved. Lower taxes for 4 million Canadian families, job creation for almost 1.2 million Canadians, a small business rebate for over 90% of businesses, the largest infrastructure program in Canadian history, superior growth to most G7 countries, half the debt compared to G7 countries, a AAA credit rating. And what does the opposition promise? A 45-day work week, a $21 billion carbon tax, a bureaucratic daycare program for less than a third of Canadians to start. There is a stark choice for Canadians.
The Honourable Member for Trinity Spadina.
Mr. Speaker, Canadian municipalities are tabling their budgets. They don't have the luxury to duck and cover. Budget time for them is budget time. Municipalities also don't have something else. What they don't have are real infrastructure dollars announced by this finance minister. This dithering is causing chaos in town halls across the country. As this government hoards away $2.4 billion for wealthy families and hoards away infrastructure money for 5 years, cities are left wondering what's coming this year. The finance minister needs to stop hiding under his desk. He needs to come forward and talk to cities. Will this minister table a budget with infrastructure money for cities today?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, that's absolutely ridiculous. This Conservative government is making record investments in infrastructure. The New Building Canada plan is the longest and the largest infrastructure investment in Canada. Canada's history, Mr. Speaker. In addition, the Prime Minister announced over and above that investments for federally owned infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, these investments, these record investments, they're creating jobs, they're creating prosperity, they're renewing infrastructure. What the opposition will do, they will hike taxes, they will run deficits, and leave a burden of debt to our children and our grandchildren. That is not our approach.
The honourable member for St. John's East.
Mr. Speaker, according to local Kurdish news sources, Canada's Chief of Defence Staff met with Kurdish military commanders in Erbil this week. The Kurds pressed General Lawson for Canadian armoured fighting vehicles and for closer Canadian involvement in attacks. Can the Minister of National Defence confirm that this is what happened at the meeting? And why are we hearing about this from Kurdish news sources instead of from this minister?
Oh, good question. The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Appreciate that according to the NDP security requirements, they'd want us to pinpoint exactly where and when our men and women are located and give them an update immediately. But, Mr. Speaker, in fact, we are in close consultation. We have special forces on the ground, and we have provided lethal equipment on behalf of other countries to Iraq, and we have provided non-lethal equipment ourselves. We are very much a part of this fight, and we're going to continue.
Honourable member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Mr. Speaker, I think that the minister misunderstood my colleague's question, despite the fact that it was very simple. Yes or no, have the Kurds asked for armoured vehicles, and why are we learning this from Kurdish media and not from the mouth of the Prime Minister here in this House? The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
We have made it a priority to assist the Kurds and the Iraqis, and this is why we are there, and this is why the Chief of Defence Staff was there. And I can indicate to the Honourable Member that we have sent over non-lethal equipment over the last couple of months. We've sent equipment such as helmets, body armour, logistics support vehicles, and we're part of the airstrikes that are being conducted out of Kuwait. We are doing our part, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier. Mr. Speaker, we all agree that the Communication Security Establishment should be closely monitoring downloads linked to terrorist activities. However, with 10 to 15 million downloads inspected each day, that seems enormous. Is the government ensuring that Canadians' personal activities are not being monitored or even spied on? How can the government ensure that it's protecting Canadians' safety while at the same time respecting their right to privacy?
Spent over 40 years on the front lines combating criminals and terrorists. I'm honored to use my experience to help Canadians who are working hard to safeguard not only our country but also our people. Mr. Speaker, CSE's foreign signals intelligence plays a vital role in revealing the efforts of foreign terrorists to carry out attacks against Canadians here and abroad. These CSE actions, Mr. Speaker, have been sanctioned by the Commissioner, who has indicated that their actions are lawful.
Honourable member for St. John's East.
Mr. Speaker, what we're actually expecting to have is some real oversight of intelligence operations by this Parliament, the kind that the Minister of Justice was in favour of when he was in opposition. No one is questioning the need to go after those who download terrorism-related material. But what we're concerned about is the potential that the Communications Security Establishment may again be going beyond its mandate and monitoring Canadians. Can the Minister of National Defence say categorically that the CSE is not monitoring the domestic activities of Canadians?
The Honourable Associate Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, this government will track all foreign-based threats that pose a risk to Canadians. And in accordance with the law, data collecting is focused on foreign entities to protect Canadians against terrorism and cyber attacks. The CSE Commissioner has found that all of their activities are within the confines of the law and the authorities provided to them. And, Mr. Speaker, Canadians expect us to do no less, and we will continue doing so.
Absolutely. The Honourable Member for Etobicoke Centre.
Mr. Speaker, since the onset of the crisis in Ukraine, Canada has stood proudly and firmly with the Ukrainian people. Our Conservative government has implemented tough economic sanctions against those responsible, We have sent record numbers of observers to recent elections in Ukraine, and we are participating in NATO's reassurance mission. Would the Prime Minister please update this House on Canada's latest efforts to support Ukraine? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the honourable member from Etobicoke Centre for his question and his ongoing interest and commitment to this particular issue. Today, the government announced additional support to assist Ukraine as it works to rebuild itself into a prosperous country free from Russian aggression.
This additional support will help the elected government of Ukraine establish economic stability and favorize long-term growth.
And will continue, Mr. Speaker, to condemn the ongoing military aggression by the Putin regime, which is solely responsible for the violence and disruption.
That for tax purposes, the Halifax Citadel was worth $41.2 million. Well, that's $37 million more than what the Minister of Public Works proposed. And get this, she also argued that the Citadel site itself was worth $10. Mr. Speaker, this whole situation is absurd. Halifax has been waiting for decades, and the Conservatives have stalled and delayed. They've made incredible claims, and they've started expensive court battles. So will the Minister of Public Works finally give up the games and pay Halifax a fair price, what it deserves?
The Honourable Minister of Public Works.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we are committed to ensuring that municipalities do receive fair compensation for federal properties in their jurisdiction. In this particular case, the Dispute Advisory Panel has examined the situation. They are in place to provide unbiased advice to the government and over the calculation of the payment. I've just recently received their report and will be looking at it, and a decision will be made in due course.
The Honourable Member for Chambly-Baudoin. Mr. Speaker, municipalities are tired of this. They've been fighting against the federal government for decades on this. The federal government establishes the real estate value of its properties itself by a so-called independent panel, but that panel responds directly to the minister. In Chambly, the federal government has underestimated the value of the fort and the canal by $16 million. For the people of Chambly, they have to cover a shortfall of $270,000 a year. Will the government finally recognize that after 20-30 years, the current process, where it is both judge and party, doesn't work and doesn't make any sense? Will they finally improve this process? The Honourable Minister of Public Works. Mr. Speaker, our government determines and ensures that municipalities receive fair payment for federal properties in the municipalities. Mr. Speaker, there is an advisory committee that is independent, that looks at each case and which provides us with information. Mr. Speaker, it is always up to us to take a decision and evaluate the information that is given, and we make the right decision. The Honourable Member for Pontiac. Via Rail has spent over $100,000 on Montreal Canadiens games, and while seniors are stuck sifting through snowbanks, Canada Post executives are relaxing at the Bell Centre. Over $200,000 for hockey tickets. That's obscene, Mr. Speaker. Since the Chuck Guite era, when the Liberals were giving away tickets left and right, it seems like nothing's changed in Ottawa. How can the Conservatives justify this behavior, which seems to be taken straight from the sponsorship scandal? Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, it is absolutely unacceptable that Via Rail used taxpayer dollars in order to ensure that they had seats at various sporting events. This practice has stopped.
James Bay.
Conservatives telling senior citizens they can walk through the snow for their mail because they need the exercise, and anyways, Canada Post just can't afford to deliver it. But Canada Post can afford to give out hundreds of pro hockey tickets to their insiders and pals. Now, the Liberals made their name filling the box seats with cronies, but surely to God we have a higher ethical bar than one used by Liberals. Now, middle-class Canadians would love to go to pro hockey games, but they'd pay their own way. So I'd like to ask the minister, why is it that they are allowing Canada Post to give out such expensive perks to insiders and pals.
Mr. Speaker, Canada Post is no longer utilizing any tickets for any sporting events, and they will not be doing that in the future.
The honourable member for Sydney, Victoria.
Mr. Speaker, it's been 1 year since the closure of 9 Veteran Affairs offices across this country, including the one in Sydney that provided essential services to over 4,000 Cape Breton veterans.
Great.
This Saturday, a rally protesting the closure of these offices is going to be held at the Ashby Legion. Now, the Conservatives have continuously mistreated our veterans. The new minister states that this is going to change. Will he join me at the rally in Cape Breton on Saturday to announce the reopening of these offices?
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the member for that question. And as he knows, we're trying to make sure we are meeting the needs of veterans now and in the future. And as he knows, in Halifax this year, we'll be opening a brand new operational stress injury clinic to meet the new needs of rising mental health. That will be one of 25 by the end of this year, serving that need. We're going to continue to do that, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Cape Breton Council.
Mr. Speaker, the government should learn to listen to veterans and not lecture them. Veterans like Ron Clark, who himself continues to wrestle with the demons of PTSD, but continues to fight for young veterans now, the new crop of veterans that have to drive 6 hours up the road to Halifax to be served, or sit in a short-walled cubicle and bare their soul to a Service Canada staffer. Mr. Speaker, Legion service councillors, they know they can't do the job that full-time councillors, and the minister knows. Councillors have been cut by 25%. I ask the minister, will he come to Cape Breton and meet with these veterans? Learn the issues.
The Honourable Minister of Veterans Affairs.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my friend for this question. And over the last year and a half, I've enjoyed talking to Mr. Clark on this issue and appreciate his service. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, our government listened to his advice and made sure that a trained and experienced case manager was available in the Service Canada office down the street, Mr. Speaker. That's a way we can evolve to meet the needs those offices provided, while also opening new offices to reach the mental health need, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Churchill.
Mr. Speaker, the government has made yet another sneaky backdoor move. This time, they've done it by tripling the threshold for communities and provinces to be able to access disaster assistance. We all know that Manitoba has experienced serious flooding over the years. This change will leave Manitobans on the hook for millions of dollars for disaster assistance. So is it that this government doesn't care about downloading its responsibility onto the provinces, or is it that they just don't care about Manitobans?
Yes. The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, this program was frozen since 1970, and we are catching up with half of the indexation. But what is most important for the communities of Manitoba, and I've been in Manitoba, I've been there with the member of St. Boniface, Mr. Speaker, is that we are there to support the communities, Mr. Speaker, up to 90%. When there are big disasters, the federal government is standing by those communities, Mr. Speaker. And what I can say is we will stand up by those communities, and I invite the member to support the DFA program, which is there to support all communities throughout the country. Thank you.
The Transportation Safety Board says that it's concerned by Conservative inaction. Mr. Speaker, they're not applying several recommendations made by the TSB. Transport Canada still does not have an effective monitoring program to ensure that railway companies are respecting the law. 18 months after the Lac-Mégantic tragedy, why are the Conservatives still having such a hard time monitoring the rail industry and protecting safety? Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, indeed, the chair of the Transportation Safety Board said today that the Minister of Transport and the department have taken strong action to improve rail safety in the wake of the Lac-Mégantic tragedy, and continuously we will build upon that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we appreciate very much what the TSB has recommended, but they did point out one important fact in the report, that this tragic accident was caused by a single individual who didn't follow the rules. We have to remember that, but at the same time, the department must ensure that they continue to work on safety.
Honourable Member for Peace River.
We woke up to the horrendous news that Israel has once again been the target of terrorist attacks.
The brutal terrorist organization Hezbollah fired a missile at Israel's military near Lebanon, causing death and injuries. This is just another example of the threats that Israel faces, from Gaza to southern Lebanon and Syria, all proxies funded and trained and supported by Iran. Can the Minister of Foreign Affairs please tell this House what the Government of Canada's position is on these latest attacks?
Excellent question. The Honourable Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Canada condemns the terrorist attack by Hezbollah in northern Israel. We stand with all of the Israeli people in this terrorist attack. Far too often, the Jewish people and the Jewish state are on the front lines in the battle against terrorism. That's why this government unequivocally stands against terrorism and stands in support of the only liberal democracy in the region, the State of Israel.
The Honourable Member for Vancouver, Quadra.
Mr. Speaker, Canadians deserve to know the truth, but this Prime Minister shamefully refused to explain how and when the role of Canadian troops went from not accompanying, as he promised last October, to a de facto combat role now. Now, Canadians, through Parliament, did not agree to put our Canadian soldiers into frontline combat. So why is Canada the only coalition country with ground troops under fire?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Well, Mr. Speaker, we have been very clear throughout this. I mean, the Liberals voting against all these measures probably missed all this, but we are taking on an advise and assist role on the ground with the Iraqis, and we're conducting airstrikes with our allies out of Kuwait. Now, we'll never take the position of the Liberal Party that we won't get involved with something unless they're guaranteed a success. I can tell if the Honourable Member that if we took the Liberal position, the terrorists would always succeed. We'll never do that, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Quebec. Mr. Speaker, in the context of the 150th anniversary of Confederation, the City of Quebec wants to have a large number of tall ships in 2017. This file was presented to the government in 2013, and it's been radio silence since then. The organizers need an answer in the next few days, otherwise the event might have to be cancelled. Will Quebec City have to cancel another major international event because of Conservative inaction? Will the minister answer the phone and fix this? The Honourable Minister of Heritage. Canada's history is one of sacrifice, risk, and determination. Canadians have incessantly triumphed to build a strong and free country. As we approach the 150th anniversary of Canada in 2017, the Conservative government will join with Canadians to celebrate this important moment, and Quebec will be included in that.
The Honourable Member for Ancaster, Dundas, Flamborough, Westdale.
Mr. Speaker, my constituents, indeed all Canadians, are concerned by short sentences received by some individuals convicted of heinous crimes. When terrorists and murderers are handed a life sentence, they should not be back walking among us, among law-abiding Canadians, a few short years later. Canadians know change is needed, and they're shocked to hear the Liberal member from Malpeque advocate for the release of dangerous criminals early and sticking with the status quo. Could the Minister of Public Safety please tell this House what our Conservative government's position is on this issue?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, it is shocking, but we should not be surprised to see both the Liberal and the NDP oppose a legislation they have not seen, they have not read, that has not been tabled. But I can tell you one thing, Mr. Speaker. We stand with the people of Ancaster and the Canadian people, Mr. Speaker, who wants criminal, serious, violent, repetitive criminals who take lives once they are going back in society and they have not served their sentence properly. We will make sure, Mr. Speaker, that those who get a sentence for life stay in prison for life.
Mr. Speaker, federal funding for the Algoma Central Railway will expire on April the 1st. Without that funding, hundreds of jobs will be lost from Sault Ste. Marie to Hearst, and between $38 to $48 million in annual economic benefits for the region will vanish. Time is of the essence. Why has the minister failed to meet with stakeholders and failed to respond to a proposal that will preserve passenger service in Northern Ontario, reduce operating costs, and transition away from a subsidy in 5 short years?
Why is the government not acting to protect the fragile economy of Northern Ontario?
Madame la Ministre des Transports.
The Honourable Minister of Transport.
Mr. Speaker, we acted decisively on this file last year, and I recognize that I have not met with stakeholders, but as the Honourable Member may have noted, I wasn't actually in the House for the last 4 months. I do take her point. I will meet with the stakeholders, and we'll get an update on the situation.
The Honourable Member for Thunder Bay Superior North.
Mr. Speaker, we import 80% of Eastern Canada's oil from places like Arabia and Venezuela, the world's most expensive and risky oil, while we export twice as much as we import, and the jobs that go with it, to the USA as raw crude at a 20 to 30% discount. Mr. Speaker, why do we buy high and sell low? And why are we the only member of the G20 with no national energy strategy?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Well, obviously, Mr. Speaker, there are solutions for that. They come in the form of pipelines. I think they're a viable option and solution as Canada finds ways to diversify its markets around the world. We know there's demands in Europe and Asia, and I can count on, it sounds like, the support of the member from Thunder Bay Superior North for those kinds of projects moving forward. Thank you.
That concludes question period for today. On point of order, the Honourable Opposition House Leader is rising on a point of order.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. In a moment, I'll be asking for unanimous consent to table an important document. The Minister of Industry in question period referenced Dan Kelly, who's President and CEO of the Canadian Federation of Independent Business. Here's the real quote from Dan Kelly on the NDP plan. Cutting the small business tax rate by nearly 20% will provide a big boost to...
Does the Honourable Member have unanimous consent to table that? I heard a couple of no's, so doesn't have consent. The Honourable Member for Central Filings is rising on a point of order.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, as a matter of rules of procedure, I don't know that anyone can judge unanimous consent. I didn't hear what the Honourable Member wanted to read out. Surely the rules allow reading the statement.
Seems like some members didn't need to hear the whole quote to decide that they weren't going to grant consent, and I heard that clearly expressed, so at the risk of getting further into debate, we'll move on to tabling of documents. Dépôt de documents. The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary of the Minister of Foreign Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and pursuant to Standing Order 32.2, I have the honour to table in both official languages two treaties entitled Protocol between Canada and the Kingdom of Spain, amending the Convention between Canada and Spain for the avoidance of double taxation and the prevention of fiscal evasion with respect to taxes on income and on capital, signed at Ottawa on the 23rd of November 1976, done at Madrid on the 18th of November 2014, and the agreement between the Government of Canada and the Government of the People's Republic of China on cooperation, mutual administrative assistance, and customs matters, done at